to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. So today I will be reporting to you from my lovely porch. Me and my little booby are outside. Say hi, booby. Hi. And today I want to talk about the 3D reality and why we should not give it any meaning except for one. So I've talked about this before a couple times, and if you don't really know a whole lot about manifestation, so basically the law of assumption states that everything we assume has to come true. And our assumptions are rooted in our subconscious belief, but they are fed or filtered through the conscious first, which is our ego, which is, you know, the voice that you hear basically that tells us stupid stuff that is just not true most of the time. And which also, by the way, is different from your intuition, just to kind of clarify that. But that is basically the only present moment that you have in your life. And then you have the 3D reality, which is what you can see with your eyes and like you can experience with all of your senses. However, a lot of people don't understand that the 3D reality is just the past. So the only present moment you have is your subconscious and whatever you think in your head. So for example, I just made a decision to film this video, right? So in the present moment, I made the decision. Now I am filming this video, but me making the decision and already having filmed this video in my head was the only present moment. This is just the past now, right? Like every moment that I speak to you, every second that has gone by that I've said a word that I first thought in my head and now speaking to you is already gone. So if you are looking at it from that standpoint and combining it with manifestation, I think a lot of times we give what is going on around us way too much meaning and way too much credit. And I understand why, because it's not really a concept that we're ever being taught, or like it's sometimes like not easy to understand. But I had a person comment on TikTok and say, you know, I've been affirming and whatnot, and now I thought that the third party was gone, but now I just saw my SP with the third party. And I tried to explain to them that that is probably just leftover past behavior from old thoughts that they had, because sometimes it can, so the 3D is always a little bit delayed, so it can, you know, take some time to catch up. Some things we can manifest instantly, so I could think about a person and ask for a text message and get it like that, but sometimes it can take a few days, it can take a few weeks, like it depends on the topic and the ingrained beliefs that you have. But overall, in general, giving the third party any meaning will, I would say 99.9% of the time, delay your manifestations significantly for no reason. So if you are arguing with somebody and you are giving into that argument, you know, or you're reacting even though you're affirming that they want to treat you better and you don't want them to be disrespectful, every time you're doing that, you are giving your subconscious a signal that reacting is giving a reward of some kind. Whether that's positive or negative, at the end of the day, doesn't really matter in this case. You're just signaling that you are giving your brain a reward because you're reacting, and you're also giving that person, right? I mean, they're just a mirror of you, basically a reward for acting like this. And you know exactly that you are feeding this really negative belief that you have about not being respected and not having people communicate with you properly and all of those things. So the best thing I would always advise you to do is to just not react and walk away, which I understand is very hard because I'm very reactive. There was a beautiful video that I do edit on TikTok that talked about why people are reactive, and a lot of times it has to do with your feelings and opinions and things like that, like dismissed, and you needing to stand up for yourself as an adult now, because as a child nobody did that for you. And that's something that I definitely experienced, and I think a lot of people can relate. So I was bullied very, very severely, and it started in, I would say, even kindergarten, and I had to change high schools 2 or 3 times, and even though my parents were quote unquote supportive, they always told me to stand up for myself, and just the way that they supported me wasn't really all that great, and they always kind of told me I mean, it's kind of your fault, you're giving off victim vibes, which from a manifestation standpoint now as an adult makes sense, but as a kid it wasn't really the best thing to be told. You know, I needed more support, and the only support I had was from my grandmother, who lived in Australia at the time, and I was in Europe, so wasn't that great. But overall, I think it's really, really important to try and be as little reactive as possible in any situation. Doesn't really matter, even if it's you're trying to manifest money, or you're trying to manifest a better job, or or a promotion, or better coworkers, or better boss, or whatever the case may be. Every time we see something or encounter something that goes against our manifestations or what we've been affirming, you are literally just pushing your result back, and it can cause you to feel a little bit like frustrated, or just discouraged in a way, because you may think, it's never coming, and why is this taking so long? And it can also sometimes cause us to like flip-flop and question, like, is this actually what we want? Like, am I actually doing this right? The biggest thing is like, am I manifesting correctly? And there's no such thing as like manifesting correctly in that sense, if you know what I mean. So, but if you were looking at it from a standpoint of that, the 3D is just the past, it makes it a little bit easier to maybe not react, and to just understand that this is just past and gone, and there's really no need to interact with that situation. And I think once you start doing that, you will find that it will be very like easy for you to manifest things, especially very quickly. And it will be a lot easier for you to try and live in the 5D, which might sound a little bit counterproductive. But again, another TikTok that I saw, and there was this girl, she said she did a challenge where she, for 30 days, lived as delusional as possible. And she literally just lived in her 5D and didn't react to her 3D at all. She didn't take any action. She didn't do anything, and everything came to her. She just lived her normal everyday life, and everything that she wanted came to her. And I can see that. I think especially when we come from the law of attraction, we are taught that we need to quote unquote take action, and most of the time that's not necessary, and that's just like a hustler, like boss girl, boss babe mentality. That's really not like required. That's not manifestation, you know what I mean? But the one time where we should take the 3D seriously, and in this particular case I also explained that to her, is to literally just take it as a sign that you need to keep persisting. That's really all it is. And I like to change my affirmations sometimes on a daily. It kind of depends, but if you're seeing something that you don't like, you can take that and look at it from a different perspective, and maybe consider like, okay, is this still bringing up a certain set of feelings for me, or thoughts for me, or emotions? Am I still getting triggered? And if I am still getting triggered, how am I getting triggered, and why am I getting triggered? And once you figure out those things, you can put that into your affirmation and just adjust them accordingly so that your manifestation can come in quicker. And that's the only time that I think reacting in the 3D actually makes sense and is actually appropriate. And also keep in mind that like nobody is perfect. You will not find a single coach on this planet who doesn't still have to work like on things, because every time you manifest something that you wanted, something new will come up. You will always want something different, something more, like whatever the case may be. And there was also a question of, should I continue to affirm? And yes, you should always continue to affirm. So stopping your affirmations is really not, I think I'm just going to turn this into a Q&A because I had so many good questions on TikTok. And you should never stop affirming until you feel like you are really confident in your manifestation. But how do you know that? You know what I mean? Like, you could wake up one morning and be triggered by a song or be triggered by an experience, and then have your manifestation either like go backwards or fall apart a little bit, or have like your progress delayed in some way. And so I would always recommend that if you have the time and you have like the will to do it, keep affirming for it. I think the biggest thing for me personally that I can tell you as like an example would be my virality on TikTok. So I've changed my mindset in order to be able to go viral whenever I want. And I can pick the videos that I want to go viral. Like, I will get the specific idea for that whenever I decide that I want that. But if you go on my profile, you will see that not all of my videos go viral. And that's first of all, it's something that I don't want outside of that. But if that were something that I wanted, I would have to be a lot more consistent and persistent. Sorry, there's an ant that's like distracting me. It's huge. I would have to be a lot more consistent and persistent in my affirmations, and I would probably also have to change my affirmations, because my affirmations are literally for that particular video that I want to go viral. Or sometimes it happens when I set myself a goal of like how many followers I want. And that's why I always tell you guys, just because you can manifest, it doesn't mean you have to, or you should, or you want to. And I even had this discussion with somebody today, like, in terms of like followers and stuff. I just like to grow slowly. That's just what I prefer. I could be a lot bigger by now. I just don't want to. And that's like totally fine. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Another question that I saw was somebody asked me whether tarot readings are interfering with manifestation, and the answer is that highly depends on you. They absolutely can. They can delay your manifestation. You can't screw up your manifestation, but you can really, really stand yourself in the way. So it kind of depends. If you are on TikTok and you see like a clickbaity tarot reading, I would definitely not go with that. So the people that ask like, oh, you have to claim or you have to interact or whatever, or these like sliding videos where you go like where they like slide over the cards and then just give you some random thing that most of the time, if you know anything about tarot, you know that it doesn't even match the meaning of the cards. Sometimes they say stuff you can't even see in the cards in that way. So in that case, if you are allowing tarot to dictate your life and to dictate your beliefs, then absolutely. If you take tarot for what it is, which is a current snapshot of where snapshot, why did I say snapshot? I don't know. Snapshot. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. If you are taking tarot for what it is, which is a current snapshot of your subconscious, where it is right now, then I think it's one of the best tools you can use for manifestation, because it really gives you like a guide on where to go and what to do and how to potentially fix how to potentially fix your affirmations. How to potentially fix your affirmations if they need fixing, to kind of get a glimpse into what your person, for example, is currently thinking, or where your career is going. It's literally like talking to your subconscious. You know what I mean? Which I think is pretty cool. Like, I love to do tarot. Everybody knows that. I also like to do witchcraft. Everybody knows that too. So I think it's a really, really cool tool. It is not a tool of divination. You can't like predict your future. The only thing you can do is look into where your subconscious is currently at. And if you know that in and of itself technically is a prediction of your future, because if you keep going with the beliefs you currently have, chances are whatever you currently see in your reality right now, here and now, will continue to manifest moving forward. So basically, you're just getting more of the same, unless the cards tell you otherwise, depending on how good you've been affirming and how consistently you've been affirming, like first and foremost. The next question I got was someone asking me what to do because manifestation was really hard for them. And I thought this was a really cute question, because manifestation is something that, first of all, you do 24/7, but second of all, is something that we've been doing from like the day we've had a consciousness. I know that there's like differing opinions about when our consciousness really starts, but if you let's just go from the point of birth. Okay, let's just go from there. I do believe that we have a purpose and that we are born into the families that we are supposed to be born into based on the lessons that we are supposed to learn from that. But I do believe that everybody can manifest their way out of whatever situation they are in. Now, one of the things that I see a lot is people asking why, for example, a lot of people, when they are going through hardships or are living in like lower class income areas, for example, why they have such a hard time leaving, why they can't just manifest their way out of it. First of all, they could, but I think a big problem is if you are in areas like this, education can be hard to come by. Education like this in particular can be hard to come by. I find that spirituality, especially oftentimes, is more presented in a traditional way, and because you are surrounded by people who have this mindset that goes along with living in this way, that's all you know, and that's all you're being surrounded by. So that's all your subconscious is being fed, especially if you are born into that. So it can be really, really difficult, or more difficult, to get out of that situation, but it's possible for them just as much as it would be for everybody else. I think that Especially the rags to riches story is a beautiful story. And I know that for some people it applies, but for a lot of people, and especially a lot of celebrities, they will lie to you and tell you that they come from nothing and build themselves up and have this like beautiful life now, when in fact, oftentimes, if you do a little bit of digging, they actually came from a very, very middle to upper class background, and had a lot of help. But the biggest help they probably had was education outside of traditional education. They come from people who know how to manifest, who know how to use their subconscious to get money, how to be successful in their work. They know how to manifest fame. So all of these things that you are being told, it's almost like it actually keeps you more stuck, because if you are in a situation like that and you see someone go there, and on one hand you think like, man, if they can do it, I can do it, but you don't know how to do it, that's essentially a recipe for disaster, to keep you stuck exactly in the place that you are, because it makes you feel defeated and like you literally have no out, because you don't know really how to get there. And like I said, most of these people oftentimes also have connections. They're, related or very well connected. So I can definitely tell you, and having been around these people, I can definitely confirm that for you, that is usually how it goes. So just keep that in mind, that I'm someone who doesn't like to consume traditional media, just because I think there's a lot of just stuff being fed that's supposed to keep us, subdued in what we can actually do, and what we're potentially capable of, especially as like even manifesting as a collective. Like, it doesn't matter if you're manifesting as a collective or as a like single person, because I've just recently been thinking about that, because I talked about falling like down a conspiracy rabbit hole a little bit, and just thinking about what can we do as a collective to change some things that are going on that I personally don't agree with, and a lot of people don't agree with, especially because we're in the age of Aquarius, which is all about like the truth coming out, standing up for yourself, finding your power and stuff like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think that everybody is capable of doing it. I think that a lack of education is the biggest problem, and a lack of mentorship and guidance on how to actually get there. So I think that's definitely the biggest thing. So if you are someone who finds themselves in this situation, like, knowledge is power in this case. Okay, the more you know, the better, but also don't overcomplicate it. A lot of times I see people, especially when they say, manifestation is hard for me, they overcomplicate it, instead of just testing out a few techniques, finding that one technique that works for you, that really, really just comes to you easily and naturally. I always say, I can maybe do like a day in the life if someone is like, if anybody is interested. I started filming one the other day, and then it just like went to hell because I got sick. A day in the life of how I try to build my life. I've said this before, I'm on a spectrum, so and I'm neurodivergent. I have a bit of a problem sticking to a proper routine. But one of the things that I do is I manifest every day. And I'm very conscious about what I manifest. So maybe I'll do like a video about that if anyone is like interested, and kind of show you exactly my routine of how I manifest and how I get what I want, to an extent at least. I don't really I want to keep this like a coaching account. A lot of people ask me about my private life and stuff, and I get it, but if you were going to a psychologist or a therapist, you wouldn't ask them about their private life. If you wanted like relationship advice, for example, or money advice or whatever. And in my personal case, I have a degree, if that's important to anybody. But yeah, just take, like, I've seen a couple coaches who say, you shouldn't take coaching advice from someone who doesn't have exactly what you want. And I think that's very dangerous advice. I think you should listen to the coaches that explain it to you in a way that makes sense and that works for you. Because I'm going to make this video, for example, if you want to manifest marriage, I can show you how to manifest marriage, just because I didn't want to be married anymore, which was a choice that I made, a manifestation that I made. Doesn't mean that I can't help you to get married to your SP. You know what I mean? So just be mindful of that when you have someone who's like trying to tell you not to listen to other coaches and stuff, which I always find, I don't know, I don't really like that. Like, I would prefer we just all support each other. I think there's enough room for everybody to go around, and everybody likes a different way of like coaching and explaining things and stuff. And I find that a lot of people who follow me are either autistic or neurodivergent, just because they understand me pretty well. and I love the community that I have, but I would never not tell you to not follow a different coach, and I try to like tag them and like shout them out and stuff when they're doing something that I think is really good. So yeah, just use your discernment when it comes to that. Yeah, but I'm gonna ask one more question. Let me go on TikTok and see. Okay, the last question that I'm gonna address, there was another one that I initially wanted to address, but I'm gonna make a separate video about that, and I think I'm gonna include that in my why I manifested my way out of marriage after I manifested myself into marriage, because someone asked how to manifest like a non-SP, like just a random person. But another question that I saw was about affirmations, and I think that general affirmations is great. You guys know that I give you general affirmations. When I do my subliminals, I really try to do them as specific as I possibly can, which is really hard sometimes, but I always include, you know, things where I basically tell your subconscious directly that if there is something in particular that you want, for example, so I have this video where you can get like a flat stomach or whatever. I didn't write down like body societal standards, but I wrote down one of my affirmations, I think, was something to the extent of like, my belly button looks exactly how I would want my perfect belly button to look, you know, and not like, oh, it's round, it's pretty, or, you know, I said something to the effect of like, my flat stomach looks exactly how I would envision my perfect flat stomach, or something like that. So I think that general affirmations are a good starting point, but if I were to give you a choice, I would always go specific as possible. That's why I love when I like do readings, I always give you affirmations, and in coaching as well, because I think it's so important to do them as specifically as possible. And there's differing opinions, and again, whatever you assume comes true. Is there something as too many affirmations? I mean, sometimes I used to use like up to 100 affirmations. I personally find that I get overwhelmed and I get drained. And I've had people ask me like, is it normal to get drained? Is it normal to get, you know, tired and exhausted and thirsty and headachy? And I think it's normal when you're doing too much. I don't think it should be the norm or the standard. And I think if you experience or encounter that, it's a sign that you should do something different. And that maybe you should like take it down a notch. And I, for example, have now started a new set of affirmations today, and I think I included 5 or 6, and I separated them into different audios. I put them all like in one big audio that I can listen to like when I go on my walk, but I literally have 3 goals in them, 3 separate goals that still fall under the same category though. So I categorized them, and I said, okay, you know what? I've been manifesting 5 or 6 different topics. I'm going to focus on one specific topic now, and I'm going to do these for a little bit. The problem is, even just now talking about it, like I'm questioning and like second guessing myself, because I realized that they are not something where I will get immediate results. Like it will be something that will be a little bit further ahead. So for example, one of them was that I wanted my overall viewership, like the amount of views that I get on YouTube, for example, to change. So that's not something where I'm like one particular video and I want that to blow up or whatever. But every video that I post, I now want a specific amount of like views for it or watch time or whatever. So that will be something that will take a little bit longer and that I will have to listen to a little bit longer. And I think it's always good to have long-term goals and then maybe have like 1 or 2 smaller goals where you can get instant gratification and do them parallel at the same time. So just, you know, listen to them. Basically, you can listen to them together or after one another and keep the long-term ones in your playlist, even if you go and change the short-term goals. So I think that's probably the best way to go about it. So you always, with the short-term goals, you make sure that you get instant gratification, so you stick with it. But with the long-term goals, you're going to be able to manifest bigger things over longer periods of time. But you are starting today and not delaying it, because just thinking about doing like one after the other just makes me anxious and nervous, even though time, and again, this was yet another question, time is just a man-made, like made-up concept. Because someone asked me, oh, can I still do this if we haven't had contact in a while? Yeah, why wouldn't you be able to? Like, we put so much emphasis on time when that is really something that we give a lot more meaning to than it actually deserves, because it's not that big of a deal. Like, I'm someone who, I think this is due to my autism, loses time a lot, so I will never be able to tell you what day of the week it is. But to me, time is literally like non-existent. I will never be able to be like, oh yeah, it's 5 o'clock now. Like my time just flies for me. So I think you should not be focusing so much on time as you should. So I try to measure my days based on the things that I've manifested and the things that I've achieved, versus time. So time really isn't that important to me, and maybe you can try and see your life a little bit that way as well, to try and just use that more as a guide, because once you take that pressure off of you to like, oh my god, I'm at a certain age and I haven't achieved this yet, that puts a lot of unnecessary pressure onto you for no reason, and might create like blockages and limiting beliefs that weren't there before. And why would you want to do that? Like, that's just totally unnecessary, and I wouldn't want you to do that. So just keep that in mind when you manifest, because some people may look at me and say like, oh, you're a certain age, like, and now you're divorced and blah blah blah, but there are some things that I've achieved that other people my age haven't achieved yet, and there are some things that, you know, I still want, and I do feel a little bit of timely pressure, but I also kind of feel like I'm not ready, if that makes sense. You know, if people ask me like, do you want kids? Yeah, I want kids, but not right now, even though, you know, the biological clock says I should get on it. But to be fair, like, I wouldn't even know what to do with a child right now. My career is important to me. That's all I care about right now. Like, even my love life isn't important to me. I have my dog and my career, and that's all that matters to me right now. So and if you look at it from that standpoint, like, nobody would question me about that. I mean, 10 years ago, people would have been like, well, you're this age and this is where your career is at, you should have been further ahead. I don't think it's like that anymore, thank God. And I think it should be like that when it comes to really any and all goals. You make your time schedule, you make your time frames, you make your goals, and that's the only thing that should matter. What other people have to say should not matter, and the less you listen to what other people have to say, the easier it will be for you to manifest. Because remember, every time you listen to somebody else, even though they're just a mirror reflection of you, those beliefs still came from somewhere, and you are getting stuck in this like spiral and this loop of like negative thinking, and, you know, other people feeding you their limiting beliefs, and then you basically confirming your own limiting beliefs through that. And that's like a surefire. I always get that one wrong. Leave a comment down below how it's correctly, please, how it's like done correctly. Sign to make sure that you will delay your manifestation unnecessarily. So anyway, I would love to hear from you guys any more questions that you have for the next Q&A video. I know this one was a little bit all over the place, especially because I didn't plan on making, sorry Bruce, I didn't plan on making a Q&A video, and this one was also a bit long, but I think that's okay. I will try to aim a little bit more for longer form content moving forward, just because I saw that it does better, which to me is a sign that you guys like it better and you get more benefit from it. So leave me a comment down below whether you would prefer more long form content or whether you prefer like 5 to 10 minute videos. And then I would also like to know what you are currently manifesting. Now, you don't need to be specific, but just, you know, like your general topics. Is it health? Is it money? Is it job? Is it SP? Is it marriage? Like I said, I will be making like, it's almost going to be like a marriage series maybe on how to manifest marriage. I think a lot of people really want to know that. But you can also take that to just manifest like long-term serious commitment. Which is basically what marriage is like. It's just a piece of paper at the end of the day. But yeah, I think I'm gonna make like a series about that or something, and just address a lot of your guys' questions. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys so much for making it until the end of the video. I really appreciate it. I love you guys so much. I am so grateful for having you. Please make sure that you like this video, subscribe, share it with somebody who might, you know, benefit from it too. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.